What's going on? Marvel Cross 316 back with another episode of reading the book of John. We're now in the book of John, chapter 9. We started chapter 9 last week, and we were talking about the story of the blind man receiving his sight. This man was born blind, but yet he received his sight from the Lord Jesus. He received his sight from the Lord Jesus. And now we'll be reading verses 13 through 34. And this is kind of like the ongoing investigation. Like they're going to be having this little investigation, the Pharisees, about how in the world did this man who was born blind receive his sight. How did he receive his sight? So if you have your Bible with you right now, I'd like you to just turn to John chapter 9, and we'll be reading verse 13 through 34, and we're going to start right now. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. And if you don't know what a Sabbath is, that's the Sunday. It's Sunday. Sabbath is a Sunday. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. He had put mud on my eyes, the man replied, and I washed, and now I see. And so this little practice of putting mud on your eyes, that was foreign to the Pharisees because, they were not used to this practice. They weren't used to putting mud on your eyes. That's not even a law in the law of Moses. That's not even in the law of Moses. I don't even think that's practice. I'm not sure. But verse 16, some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." But others asked, "How can a sinner do such miraculous signs?" So they were divided. And so, as you can see in all of the Gospels, that when the topic of Jesus is brought up, he's going to cause a lot of arguments because Jesus was a man, but he was also a God in the flesh who caused a lot of controversy because he was one of the wisest people on the earth. Finally, they turned again to the blind man. They wanted to have his opinion, and what did he say? What did he say? "The man opened my eyes," he replied. "He is a prophet." That's what he claimed Jesus to be. The Jews still did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they sent for the man's parents. So they had to go to the man's parents, and they're thinking, I'm going to get the truth out of his parents. Is this your son?" they asked. "Is this the one you say was born blind? How is it that now he can see?" "We know he is our son," they said. The parents answered, "and we know he was born blind, but how he can see now or who opened his eyes, we don't know." Because they weren't there. They weren't there to witness Jesus opening this man's eyes to make him see. His parents said he said, "He's of age." The parents said, "He's of age. Why don't you just ask him? Why did you even have to come to us?" So this right here, this man right here, he had to be about 18 or onwards in age because he was of the legal age of an adult. So he didn't need his mom and dad to tell him how he received his sight and if he was born blind or not. He could have just told him right there, and he has. And the Pharisees, as you can keep on reading, they ask him, "How did you receive your sight?" And then the guy's like, "Do I have to tell you another time? I've already told you, and you're not listening." The Pharisees just did not want to believe that Jesus was the main reason of how this man received his sight. They were unbelieving teachers at that time. And so, verse 28, then they hurled insults at him and said, "You are this fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. And we know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from." So they were all after Jesus, just trying to call him, he's a sinner, he doesn't follow the Sabbath, And as you read through 34, you can see that if you claim that Jesus was the Christ, you would be kicked out of the synagogue. And just think about today, if Christians were kicked out of school, like I'm a Christian, and if I was kicked out of school because I claimed to be a Christian, that's about how it was back then. You were kicked out of the synagogue, and the synagogue was a place where you worshiped God. So people couldn't go and worship God anymore because they claimed Jesus was the Christ. How terrible. Then they hurled insults at him and said, "You are this fellow's disciple." They just like, "You are a disciple of Jesus, aren't you?" And the man answered, Now that is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly man who does his will. Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. That right there tells you Jesus was something. If he were not from God, he couldn't have opened that guy's eyes. So Jesus was from God. To this they replied, "You were steeped in sin at birth." They were just throwing insults. "How dare you lecture us?" And they threw him out. And as I conclude this video for today, I just want to tell you that as a Christian, it's hard to talk to somebody who's an unbeliever because sometimes they just will not listen to you. Even if you throw facts, straight facts from the Bible into their face, they're still going to persecute you. They're still going to not believe in what you're saying. The only thing that I'm saying to you right now is that if you have enemies in your life who are just like persecuting you because you are a Christian, what does the Bible say? The Bible says you're supposed to pray for them. You're supposed to love them just like you love your friends. So that's my challenge for you as I end this video for this week. And tune in next week as we continue this story, and we'll be talking about another type of blindness. We're going to be talking about spiritual blindness next week. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next time.